Hello everyone, David here, MixPass TV. Hope you guys are having a great day. In this video, we cover 7 most common, why I did this? This is 5. 7 most common mistakes when recording vocals. Let's go. All right, I'll keep this one too straight to the point, short and sweet, and if you have more questions, leave them in the comment down below. Number 1 has been repeated over and over and over, but it really is the most important and the most common mistake. Do not record vocals in a bad room. I know nowadays there's plenty of plugins that will de-reverb your vocal and remove noises, and they work great. They work absolutely great. I'm actually so surprised how far the technology is and how efficient these plugins are, yet it will always be a compromise and you will never sound like those tracks, those vocal tracks that are your references that have been recorded in a proper studio. And it doesn't take much for vocals. It really doesn't. What you want to avoid is basically just a couple of things. No reverb and reflection. So avoid big empty room with reflecting surfaces and build-ups, especially in the low mid range, which is usually accompanied by a major loss of top end. Why? Because the second scenario happens when you record vocals in the complete opposite of the previous, the big, large, empty, reflecting room. The second happens when you record vocals in a 1x1 little booth stuffed with foam and mattresses and blankets and all that. Too small of a space with too much absorption. It's still gonna be better than the big reflecting empty room, that's for sure. But that is not ideal either, because if your booth or your wardrobe is too small, you are gonna have buildups and resonances in that low mid range, which are going to be tough to remove. Or better, you will be able to remove it, but you will remove a lot of the body and the energy of a voice, of a human voice, which, if you think about it, is how half of the vocals out there sounds today. Because that's usually the case. A little tiny, probably homemade booth that is too small, or those stupid little foam balls where you put your head in and the microphone in, and that's the result. You're fusing the body of your voice to the resonances, and it's not gonna be easy to remove that. At the same time, if you stuff your space, which is small already, with a lot of foam, which absorbs only the high frequencies, then you're also gonna lose top end. And that's gonna be a double whammy. You're gonna have to start adding a bunch of EQ, which will sound unnatural, and it's just gonna be a uphill battle. So the perfect scenario is a decent sized room, which is controlled and contained, but not completely dead. And you can do this easily at home if you want. You can build a portable booth. Just don't close all the 4 walls and the ceiling and trap your singer in a space this big. Okay, leave a little bit of space, leave a little bit of room. Just 2 things keep in mind. Don't forget the top, right? If you have a high ceiling, you don't want to leave that space open. Put a blanket on top. Just don't wrap the whole thing. But I always see people focusing so much on what's in front and the screens that are in front of the mic and forget about the ceiling. This reflection is pretty deadly if you have a high ceilings that is reflective. Put something to break the reflection, and maybe don't put it this far from the head of the singer. Try to build something up. Like, if you don't have budget to get a booth or have a dedicated room, you have to be creative. Grab a couple of mic stands and put a blanket, just put it a little higher. The mistakes that I see made is just everything is too close to the mic, right? Because people try to avoid reflection so much, which is a correct concept. It just, they go all the way on the other extreme. And then the other thing, don't forget what's behind the singer. So if the mic is here, again, everybody focuses on this screen here, okay? Well, the problem is that even though this is the projection plane of the singer, that doesn't mean that you don't have reflection all around 360. So you are actually gonna have a first reflection from behind. The sound will hit the back wall and go back into the mic. This is another deadly reflection, because you have the source signal, which is this distant from the mic, and then the first reflection coming from behind the singer, which is gonna be X milliseconds after delayed, and it's gonna create a cancellation somewhere, maybe a comp filter in either. So do not overlook what's behind the singer. Number two, having only one microphone. Of course, to some extent, you will get what you pay for, but how good of a mic, it depends how good that mic is with that singer. The pairing is much more important than the price tag. And this has been proved thousands of times, okay? How many records have been recorded with an SM7? And at the same time, millions of records have been recorded with $10,000 microphones. So it's not one or the other. They both have a place. But if you are in a budget and you don't have the luxury of having a giant mic locker, don't try to buy the mic. Try to be versatile. Today, again, we have so many choices that are affordable. Because even if you just record yourself, what mic can be good on one song and not on the other, unless you literally sing in the same way everything that you put your voice on. And also, it's good to have another mic for doubles, for ad-libs, for all the other non-lead vocals that you record. But if you even record your bodies, you want to be prepared, and you can build a 3-pieces mic locker where you have a dynamic, a good main condenser, and another condenser with a different characters, or there are mics out there that have different voicing, and maybe spend 50% of your budget on one, on the main one, the one that you think is gonna be it, and then the rest divided between a dynamic and another color or a more versatile microphone. Number three, you're gonna hate me for this because it's obvious, has been repeated over and over and over, but I kind of was the first one to focus on this hard, so I have to repeat it because, again, there's a lot of new people on the channel not doing proper gain staging, and that does not mean just not going in the red. Okay, if you have a cheap interface, understand that the closest you get to the 0 to red, the worse the converter, the AD stage is gonna sound. That's why mastering converters that you can clip cost that much for just 2 channels, as opposed to interfaces with 8 channels of AD that cost like $600 or $800, okay? The closest you get to 0, the worse it's gonna sound. Maybe you're not gonna be able to hear it because it's not gonna be so noticeable, but you start stacking vocals, and that light degradation that you get as you get closer to 0, even if you're not clipping, is gonna add up. And even if you're not gonna stack vocals, why go close to 0 or too high, risking to clip and having to lower down your track anyway at the mixing stage for what? You have no reason. The reason, because back in the years we were trying to record as hot as possible, is because we had problems with noise floor, whether it was gear or tape. Today, we don't have that problem. So stay away from the red lights, do proper gain staging. Number 4, not splitting the recording, not splitting the parts. Now, let me explain this. We are not talking about Christina Aguilera walking in and she wants to do a whole performance. Okay, because I'm pretty sure everybody who records an artist like that doesn't need this video. This is not what we're talking about, okay? Of course, it's ideal if the singer can come in and just sing for top to bottom performance for us to pick from. But if you are at that level, then you probably have all the gear that you need and the experience that you need and the skills and the knowledge to know how to track a wildly dynamic performance from a great singer that doesn't want to be stopped, and he just knock the song right away. We're gonna have either a multi-mic setup, or we are gonna split the signal at the mic and get one signal to a preamp with a certain gain staging, the other one to another preamp with a lower gain staging for the high parts. Probably we're gonna have compressors on both with different settings, so we are completely safe and foolproof no matter what happens, no matter what the singer throws at the microphone, that we're gonna be able to capture the entire performance to the best of our abilities without ever clipping or ever being too low or ever having to stop because some technical mishap happened. But unless this is the scenario, most likely you will want to split the record. If you have a low level verse and a high energy chorus or an even higher energy bridge, You want to split the parts. And in my experience, it's better to do for each part that has the same level of energy, to do all those parts first. Let's say verses. You set up your compression, if you have EQ, whatever, and you do all the verses and all the parts that have more or less the same energy and the same output. And then we move to the choruses, we'll readjust gain staging, threshold, compression, everything else that you have on the chain, and then record all those parts. So for the bridge, so for the ad-libs, background vocals, and all that. Today, this is much more the reality than the amazing, talented singer that wants to come in and do the entire performance top to bottom, and he does just 4 or 5 performances, and then we'll pick from that. The reality is 9 times out of 10, we split. We split recording, we stop and start from a point, we punch in. Ideally, we don't do 3 words at a time, because that's, you know, I never like that stuff and you can tell from a mile away. So I try to record as a whole of a part as possible. So if I have a verse, ideally I want the singer to sing the entire verse. And if possible, you do multiple takes of that and you pick the best, or you comp, although I'm not a fan of comping, but it happens, a couple of words here and there. With Bella, I almost never comp. 90% of her stuff is just verses, whole, and choruses, and maybe there's like a couple of words that we punch in or we pick from another performance. That's it. Also, it's not just a matter of gain staging and levels. If you're dealing with unexperienced singers, sometimes they don't really know how to breathe, and even if they sung the part in pitch, it just happened to me not long ago. They get to the last part with not enough breath, or they breathe in between words kind of wrong and in an unmusical way. If you're recording and you have a say on the production, pay attention to these things and break the recording, or don't be afraid to redo a take, or redo part of a take. Even just the breathing is not okay, because everybody focuses on what compressor to use, or how to EQ vocals and all the other BS when they start from flawed performances and flawed recordings. And that's not just as important as the mixing part, but that's gonna be your ceiling. If the recording and the performances are like, there's only so much you can do. Number 5, often overlooked mistake, bad headphone mixes. If you're not experienced and you haven't been recording many different singers, you might not understand how important it is to get the right headphone mix to that specific singer. There's not one headphone mix that is the best, right? Some singers, they need to be buried compared to the music. Some singers use only one ear, right? And they want to hear their voice directly and use only one headphones to hear everything else. Some singers, they need to hear themselves so loud in the headphones and, you know, with very low music. It all depends. You need to understand what this given singer feels more comfortable with. And you need to try different things. I can give you a couple of common scenario and things to look out for. Like, for example, if a singer is kind of shy and it doesn't output the power and the energy that you know he or she is capable of, 9 times out of 10, it's because she's too loud in her headphones. Either the headphones level is too loud overall, or her or his voice is too loud in the headphones. I can recognize this right away because that's how Bella is. As soon as we start recording, I know immediately if the headphone mix is not right, because she doesn't output as much volume and power as she can, and I know that that's why. It's because she's hearing herself too loud in a mix. Turn it down, turn down her feed, and she goes all the way. And at the same time, if the singer, for example, struggles with the pitch and going a little overboard, it's probably the opposite. They are a little too low, so they can't really hear themselves. And of course, this is if the problem is the headphone mix. Some people are out of pitch because they're out of pitch, but that's a whole different ballgame. Mistake number 6, too much noises. And by noises, I mean everything. The fans of your computer, the building, the room where you're recording in. If something is making the floor vibrating, some people record at home, so maybe they have the fridge going, or the AC or anything that makes even the stand vibrate, it's gonna be a problem. If you have fans around, as computer fans, make sure they are not going into the microphone. Try to isolate the space as much as possible. Again, you can use everyday material to do that. But pay attention, because removing noises, again, it's possible. RX by iZotope is amazing at it, but it's still gonna be a compromise. You're still gonna miss that clear, crisp, open sound that your reference tracks have. And also pay attention on what they wear, right? Piercing that hit their teeth, or earring that makes noise, bracelet, chains, stuff that they have on. It sounds silly, but it happened many times that we recorded and there's like weird sound in the recording and we couldn't understand what it was. And that's why, because they had something. I remember, you know, the piercing one is a classic. It's just hitting in the teeth, or have more than one and they, you know, click together. So pay attention to all the extra noises that can be going into the mic. And 7, the last one, is more for singers than recording or engineers, but many of you are probably both. Keep these things in mind. You're recording, you're not doing a live show, and you're singing, you're not talking to your body. What this means: how many of you have problems with S's? Many, okay? One of the problems with S's, besides, let's assume you pick the right microphone and all that, is the way the artists deliver the S's. I never have problems with Bella's tracks with S's, never, ever. Why? Because she knows how to deliver soft S's and hard consonants when she sings behind a microphone in studio, which is different from where she speaks to somebody, and it's different when she performs live. So there's 2 stages of this, there's level to this. So the performer has to understand, and some people have it natural. Like I never had to say anything to her about this. So some people have it natural, but if they don't, you need to recognize this problem, and you need to recognize when there is room for improvement. Of course, in some cases, this is not possible. It also depends on the language, right? I mix songs in all languages, and some language, you know, simply sound harder, and the sounds that are part of that language are hard. So you're gonna have to deal with that in some other ways. But generally speaking, if you see that the singer doesn't pay any attention to the S, especially rappers, when they are in the moment and just spit rhymes, sometimes they just do it like they are doing either a live performance or just a rap battle at a club, which is fine for the energy. But the real professional knows how to dose both. He or she knows how to keep the energy but control the technique and deliver those hard consonants and those S's and those hard sounds a little lighter and softer, because they mind the fact that they are behind a microphone and they are recording in studio, and that device that is capturing your voice at that moment picks every single detail that you're spitting out. So if you are the singer, you have to understand that you need to deliver the sounds that you want to hear in the records as close as possible to how you want to hear them in the record. And this, of course, is not easy unless, again, you are a natural. You have to work on the technique. But when you're recording, you don't need to push those sounds hard, even if you are singing an angry song or something like that. You don't need to, because that's the only sound that is gonna be happening at that time, and it's already loud, it's already piercing, it's already in a range where we are very sensitive. So just try to deliver it a little smoother. That's it. Don't sacrifice the power and the energy and the soul that you put in the performance. But again, the real professional can do both. The real professional can keep the heart but mind the technique while he's recording. And like I said, live performances are not the same as recording. Live performance, even if you record it, is a live performance. Everything goes. In studio, everything is under a microscope. So Every detail counts. And this is it for this video. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, please consider using the super thanks. Leave a like. Let me know in the comments down below what you think are the most common mistakes when recording vocals. If you want to step up your mix and mastering game, click the join button down here, become a MixBus TV member, access all the exclusive mix and mastering courses. The new EDM series has been recently added and more to come. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Stay safe. See you next one.
Hands on my neck, hands grip my throat. Lift me up, man, take control. Heart is so gone, my type, don't you know